Welcome back to Munchausen's Proxy, where this week's Gotham Knights had me flabbergasted from the opening scene on. Holy crap, CW. Are you operating on a $3.50 costume department budget? I have seen Z-level 1980s science fiction movies with better costumes than what we started with this episode. And I am not even bitching about Robin's costume this time. I'm getting ahead of myself. This week was a chore to get through, and I just finished watching the show before sitting down to record this, so my brain is a little salty for being forced through that deluge of imbecility. This is the spoiler review for episode 3 of CW's mess of a DC show, Gotham Knights. Buckle in, because there was literally nothing good about this episode. We start off the show with the mutant gang's leader in an alley with two members of the gang. How do I know? They have the same stupid aesthetic going. The pair drop off a couple of crates of rocket launchers, close the doors on the van, and drive off. The mutant leader, yes, that is the genius name they have given the bad guy du jour, is then left in the alley alone with two crates of rocket launchers with no visible conveyance with which to transport them elsewhere out of sight. Question: why is he alone? Better question: what kind of gang leader goes to an arms buy or drop off by himself? Actually, what kind of gang leader does anything but go to the bathroom by himself? Never mind. If you think too hard about the questions that arise as you watch this week's episode, your brain will start going into seizures and slowly start to leak out of your eyes and ears. So the mutant leader is with this pair of rocket launchers when who should show up but Robin? All barely 5 feet of her. Now, Mutant Boy is a giant next to her, being at least a few inches over 6 feet. How many over 6 feet? I got curious too, because she really does look ridiculous in this opening scene. Dude is 6 feet 10 inches. So of course Robin beats him. Now, even the CW realizes how clownish it would be for her to kick his ass handily. After all, she can't even reach his face to punch it without jumping off of a step stool. He does throw her around a bit, but anyone with half a brain realizes as soon as this starts that Mutant Boy would kill her with the first kick. But this is the CW, so we know that is not going to be how this goes. After some badly choreographed quote-unquote fighting, she pulls out a dart gun that she shoots at him. He catches the dart that is conveniently attached to a steel line, and she uses the other side of the gun to shoot another dart at an electric box nearby, thereby electrocuting him. But electricity is different in the CW, so he is only knocked out. Oh, and she is perfectly fine because the gun is obviously not made from conductible material, except for the darts and the cables. After the opening credits, she floats into the tower to brag on herself for catching the mutant leader to the 4 idiots in residence. The dialogue is simply painful to listen to, verging on the point where Navia Robinson should be ashamed of anyone seeing her saying those lines on video. After the bragging by Robin and some validation from Turner is finished, she leaves. Duella pokes at Turner for Bruce not picking him to be his sidekick, picking the diminutive Robin instead. Then we get another awful news report that is almost a parody of local news, it is so bad. And of course the newscaster has to overemphasize the mutant leader's size, as they show him being led away in handcuffs. The mayor boastfully takes credit for the arrest, graciously including the GCPD in his announcement. And then he makes sure to pay a gigantic target on the upcoming Founders Gala a black tie event that will have the who's who of Gotham at it. Being mentioned at the same time they announce the arrest ensures that the mutant gang would be golded into hitting it. Somehow, 3 scenes and 7 minutes into the show, Gotham Knights has achieved true CW awfulness with amazing alacrity. The 4th scene is Stephanie being sucked into the terrible as she rails against the patriarchy taking the credit for Robin's work, as she marches into the school library, wakes up the sleeping Robin by slapping the morning paper on the table, and announcing in a loudish voice that the press always gets it wrong. Robin tries to play dumb, and she is bad at even that. So Stephanie lets her in on the fact that she is in the know vis-a-vis the band of idiots hiding out in the bell tower. She is interrupted in her girl power moment by Asshole, aka Brody, whose father apparently paid/donated his way out of serious jail time that he volunteered for at the end of last episode. Stephanie is not surprised his father bought him a get-out-of-jail-free card, and Brody tells her 3 months of community service is nothing compared to what his parents will force him to do to make up for it. He then asks her to the Founders Gala, being required to go part of his father's punishment. They then immediately cut to Turner having a kitten over her going to the gala with Brody. The criminals agree that Stephanie kind of owed him for taking the fall for the hacking that she did. Then she tells Turner that her going to the gala is the least of his problems, although I was sure her being there would solve problems later on. They then turn to his clue trail, which has once more gone cold. 2 episodes into his life on the lam and the hunt for the real killers, and he has run out of ideas in both episodes. He then tells her about Bruce's theory that the Court of Owls has been hunting the Wayne family for over a century. His brilliant idea is to try to solve the death of Bruce's grandfather, who Bruce was sure was murdered, even though it looked like an Alzheimer-related accident back in the day. And he will, of course, find more clues, because that is how cold cases work, especially cold cases that were ruled accidental deaths, meaning the investigation would have been cursory at best. This show is written by infantile imaginations addicted to simplistic Lifetime movies. In the course of the discussion, Turner is brought up short because his limited brain stumbles across the fact that the original case files would be gathering dust in the basement of GCPD headquarters. Cullen tells him to leave the thieves to figure out how to get it. The girls are less than happy he volunteered them. Remember the rocket launchers the mutant gang was moving around at the beginning? Yeah, they wanted them to take down the GCPD Zeppelin, which just so happens to land in the Ace Chemicals plant, causing a fire. The newscaster, a different awful one this time, assures the public that the Gotham firefighters' brave efforts prevented toxic fumes from spreading all over Gotham, even though the fires were not under control at Ace. Don't think about it. Just move on or your brain will explode. Duella and Robin are watching the report, and apparently the mutant gang threatened to spread a wave of violence across the city in retaliation for their leader being arrested. Duella mutters to Robin that she was proud of Robin for taking out their leader and the gang taking it out on everyone but her. And that is where they break for commercial, thankfully. When we come back, Robin is racing around to get geared up to go take out the mutant gang all by herself. All 5'0" of her. Turner offers to be her sidekick, but she turns him down, reminding him he is busy clearing his name. Oh, and he's a wanted fugitive. When he asks if she is worried about him getting caught or hurt, she tells him it is about Bruce not wanting him to follow in his footsteps. Meanwhile, the girls are telling Cullen, "You just can't walk into GCPD and get files," and I was having Boromir flashbacks. He pulls out a forged evidence form, telling them that you can in a cop uniform and with one of these. Harper argues against it, so Duella takes Cullen's side, offering to help change his features. Harper gives up and walks away. When she is out of hearing range, Duella tells Cullen that she just helped argue because she wants a favor. At the gala, Stephanie meets Brody and his parents on the red carpet as they get out of a limo. There is shockingly limited security outside, with only 4 uniformed police visible by the doors and a few paparazzi. Mrs. March asks her about her mother, and Stephanie seems a little embarrassed to say that her mother is attending the taping of her father's show. Mr. March asks her about being accepted by MIT, and she turns his focus to his son making the state fencing tournament. On the way up the steps, Mr. March snarks back at his son, telling him he can't count on his next opponent being arrested for killing his father. Robin is then shown breaking into a warehouse looking for the mutant gang. One of the gang members sneaks up behind her with a gun, waiting a conveniently long time for someone to stop him. Predictably, it is Turner who bashes him over the head. Robin immediately shoots back that she had him, and now she can't question him about what the gang is planning next. As they are discussing how he found the warehouse using tricks Bruce taught him growing up, they find a van full of canisters stolen from Ace Chemicals. Turner picks one up and finds it empty. Back at the gala again, Harvey says hi to Stephanie, but she asks if she should have her lawyer there before answering. When she walks away, the Marches, who are standing nearby, say hello. Mr. March introduces his wife after asking if he has met her. He then asks Harvey if he is there because he is running for mayor, since he is glad-handing the donor class. Harvey tells him he is busy doing the job he currently has. Mr. March smiles and tells him he needs to lie better if he's going to run for office, walking away. Mrs. March tells him she disagrees with her husband. She almost believed him when he said he had never met her. Then she follows her husband. At GCPD, Cullen walks in and the desk sergeant directs him to the records room after a little hazing. Turner and Robin bring 2 of the canisters back to the tower with trashed blueprints of something they found at the warehouse. They ask Harper as if she were a chemist, which apparently she is because she starts spouting ideas about what it could be that the gang is up to. As the 3 of them start guessing where they would strike with an aerosol bomb, Duella chimes in with what her dad would do, make a statement, suggesting the Founders Gala, which sends us back to where Brody returns from finding him and Stephanie a couple of mojitos. He paid the bartender a 20 to ignore that he is not of drinking age. When Stephanie objects, he tells her they will both need the liquor for dealing with his parents at dinner. They start talking about his parents when her phone rings. She goes out of the room to take the call, and Turner tells her to get out of there. Outside, the mutant gang takes out the police security with grenades and rush into the gala, the leader of the group holding up a trigger switch. Robin, Turner, and the ladies are watching the news report on the scene before they fade to commercial. When we come back, Harper is arguing against Turner and Robin going to the scene, and they tell her they were hoping she would come with them because she is suddenly a bomb expert as well. Duella suggests going through the decommissioned subway tunnels to get to the building without bothering the police outside. However, they would need somebody inside to open up the door for them. Turner asks her to guide them, trying to guilt her into coming with the fact that they saved her from Talon in last week's episode. She informs him that it is impossible to guilt her into anything, so he tells her she would get to punch mutants. She smiles and tells him he should have led with that. Cullen is on his way out of the headquarters when an all hands is called over the intercom, telling everyone to get to the briefing room. He tries to leave anyway, but the desk sergeant tells him to get his ass back to the briefing room. He texts Harper to tell her he is stuck. At the tunnel entrance to the building, Harper texts Cullen back that they are on the scene of the hostage situation. Stephanie opens the door for them, and Robin goes in to sweep for hostiles. Harper suggests they would put the chemicals in the HVAC system. Stephanie somehow knows exactly where the boiler room is and guides them to it. They kick one of the gang members through the door and find the bomb. Turner is about to pick the bomb up and get it out of there when Harper stops him, recognizing a mercury switch from across the room. Upstairs, the gang is stealing all of the guests' valuables, while the leader is having the mayor authorize the release of the mutant leader. Harvey asks him if he knows what he is doing letting the mutant leader go. The mayor thinks he is trading one leader for the whole gang, assuming the police outside will kill or capture the gang before they can escape. Back with the bomb, the somehow bomb geniuses, Harper and now Stephanie, figure out that the bomb was designed only to turn on, not off. Duella finds a gas mask on the guy they kicked through the door, and they realize the gang planned ahead, and all have gas masks. Turner decides he needs to try and get Harvey to stop the release of the mutant leader to buy them time to disarm the bomb, which is set to go off in a little over 40 minutes. Duella asks him if he is willing to be locked up if Harvey doesn't believe him, and he says yes. Turner grabs Harvey from the gala, who is somehow off by himself near an exit from the room. They go through the door and Turner explains the situation and about the Court of Owls being the ones who killed Bruce and framed him and the other idiots. He tells Harvey he needs to stop the release of the mutant leader to buy them time to disarm the bomb. Back with said bomb, again, the girls are arguing over how to defuse the bomb. Back at the gala, again, Harvey argues with the mayor about stopping the prisoner release. These are the worst hostage takers in the history of Hollywood, by the way. The mayor, being a duplicitous asshole himself, expects Harvey to be one too, because he is gunning to be mayor. So, being the idiot weasel he is, he refuses to do what Harvey says because he doesn't trust him. At GCPD, Cullen watches the cops take mutant leader out of holding. He texts Harper to let her know. Harper tells Stephanie, who then tells Robin to take out the rest of the gang immediately. The mayor tells the leader of the hostage takers that their leader has been released into the sewer systems as requested. The guy gets a call from the leader telling him they are good to go. He tells the other gang members and they all celebrate. The leader goes to press the button, but Harvey tackles him, wrestling for the switch. While they tussle, Robin takes out the gang members in the balcony. Turner sees the leader win the tussle and get ready to push the button. He tells the girls to do whatever they are doing with the bomb now. Stephanie cuts the wire with Harper yelling, "Wait, no!" Nothing happens when he pushes the button. Harvey knocks him out to the cheer of the gala attendees. The girls exhale and Stephanie gets up, laughing with relief. Harper angrily asks her what the hell she thought she was doing. She gets all class warfare on her ass, teasing Stephanie about this not being her daddy's game show, before angrily walking away. The police inform Harvey that there was no device on the premises. Harvey goes to the boiler room and finds it empty. Harper is pissed that Harvey gets credit for what they did. Duella is happy to give him credit if they get to keep the shiny stuff. They grab the gang's loot bag, and inside they find more Court of Owl watches. Cullen then comes in with the police report, suggesting they might find something in there. Turner goes up to talk to Robin, who is beating on a punching bag with all her might, and it is barely moving. She is pissed that the mutant leader was let go. She wonders why she is even trying to do anything to clean up Gotham. Turner then gives her validation, telling her he is jealous of her, and that he sees why Bruce chose her to be Robin. She cries about not getting to see the side of Bruce that Turner got to see, having lost her own father. He then asks her to let him help her carry the legacy of Bruce by letting him be her sidekick. He tells her, with her tenacity, the guy won't be free for long. Below, Cullen gives Duella a picture he took from evidence for her. It is apparently a picture of her father, and she wants to be reminded of who she doesn't want to be. Harper comes in and Cullen yells at her for trying to protect him. They share feelings and validation, and then they hug. The next day, presumably, Harvey holds a press conference to announce he is running for mayor, calling out the mayor for the level of crime in the city. While the voiceover of Harvey's speech continues, we see the mayor get into his limo. On the back seat is a coin from the Court of Owls. He pushes the button to yell at his driver to get them the hell out of there, but the partition lowers and the bomb is shown spewing gas in the front seat. The gas oozes towards the mayor, but the doors are locked. And that was the blessed end of that. Where to start with the breakdown of this episode? First off, there was nothing good to say about anyone or anything, not even Duella. She was barely in the show, and what there was of her was as tarred with the stupidity as everyone else. Everyone was completely brain dead in this episode, which is probably because vegetables wrote it. I already pretty thoroughly regurgitated my feelings about the opening two scenes, but let me re-emphasize that it is some of the worst writing, acting, fight choreography, and directing I have seen. This was classic CW stuff here, ladies and gents. I will try and stop harping so thoroughly on the news clips, but they led into more Mayor, and I was glad to see him oft in this episode. His character is an idiot who should have been whacked by the court long before this show got started. This episode simply allowed his stupidity full reign in all its glory. The fact that the writers used him to telegraph for anyone with a brain what this episode would revolve around mere minutes into the show is simply stunning in its incompetence. We also had the telecaster tell people the firefighters saved the city from a toxic mess, and then seconds later tell them the fire was not yet under control. Which was it? Because it couldn't be both. Either the firefighters are bravely fighting the fire and have it contained enough to be sure there will be no chemical cloud over the city, or they are bravely fighting the fire but have yet to gain control of the fire. 2 seconds thought, plus a little logic, tells you those are contradictory statements, yet there the newscaster is. I know the media is held in general contempt, and for good reason, but this is pretty bad even for faux local news. We also got a good spectrum of the message in a few scenes in this episode, from heavy-handed feminism to out-of-place class warfare. The writers wanted to make sure everyone got the orthodoxy download with this one. And it is so clumsily dropped that there is no attempt to even try to disguise it within the story. Or if there was an attempt, that attempt was no more artful than the rest of this mess. Robin was a problem in more than one scene in this episode, not the least reason being her casting. It would be different if she were even mildly athletic looking. However, she is not. Her punches look weak to the point of ineffectualness. Her moves are nigh uncoordinated. Her tactics are retarded. And yet, there is all 5 feet and change of her planning to go take on a gang by herself using her fists as her primary weapon. If her first instinct was to pull out a weapon of some sort, it might be different. But the director has her facing off, time and again, against opponents that make her look like she should be out trick-or-treating, not fighting crime. Norvia Robinson has not convinced me she is a good actress either. She has convinced me that the casting director for Gotham Knights should be chased out of Hollywood. 3 episodes in, and I have yet to figure out how she was given this role, barring the obvious crutch Hollywood loves to lean on these days. Not that Oscar Morgan, the dude playing Turner, is much better. He is written as if he is an idiot. 2 out of the 3 episodes we have seen him saying he has run into a dead end in this investigation. Seeing as how we never see him do investigating, I'm not sure how that's possible. You kind of have to start an investigation before it runs into a wall. Last week we were sitting in cars and robbing offices. This week we are beating up gang members and saving a gala full of rich folks, who are probably the people trying to kill them. Very little of it is Turner intelligently looking for answers or being helpful. It was Robin who decided the office burglary was a good idea. It was Robin who decided to take on the mutant gang. It was the criminals who decided to swipe the old police file on Grandpa Wayne. The fact that the writers think that a decades-old accidental death file is a brilliant way to find clues on the Court of Owls shows they need better police consultants, assuming they have any on staff. They will find some idiotic way to get clues from it, however. Of that you can be sure. At the gala is when and where things got supercharged with retardedness. I kept expecting Staff Sergeant Lincoln Osiris to pop up on screen and tell the writers that they have gone full retard. You never go full retard. The introduction of Brody's nicely nasty parents was lovely. I'm sure they are a blast at home if this is what they are like at a public function. Then we have the set. When you hear the word gala, you tend to think grand ballroom type gathering. This looked like they were at the mildly prosperous local real estate agent's home. It is made even more unbelievable when the hostage takers arrive, and the first thing they don't do is round up all the hostages into a single location. No, they let Harvey and the mayor to continue to stroll around, having conversations about whatever they want. This is not how hostage situations work. The idea is the hostage takers must have control over the hostages, or they can do what Harvey was trying to do, namely, plan a counter against the hostage takers. Now, I know what DC/CW stands will say, that this is a gang who don't know what they were doing, just that they wanted their leader released. However, gangs tend to be well versed in how to control people in their environment through fear, and letting those people do whatever they will is not on the agenda for such groups. They understand the application of fear through control, and there was little to no control displayed by the gang in this episode, which is why it was so easy to counter them. There was only one guy shown on the door to the boiler room where the exit strategy, the bomb, was located. With the CW being broke, we were not shown Robin and Duella taking out any roving patrols that should have been placed. We barely got to see the two guys attempting to control the high ground on the balconies. The entire situation was poorly written, and the setting was ridiculous for what it was supposed to be. Try imagine a Founders Gala in New York City or Chicago. Do you think it would be held in the kind of cramped space shown in this episode of Gotham Knights? Or would it have been held in the type of grand space that would show off the wealth and power of those putting the gala on, and those attending it? And then we have the bomb. I know the siblings and Duella are criminals, but what in 3 episodes has shown that they are anything other than thieves? I know they established that Harper is smart in the first episode, but being smart and being an expert in weapons of mass destruction is completely different. You don't get to learn how to build a tamper-resistant chemical bomb either in high school or on the street being a thief. The argument between Stephanie and Harper after the bomb is defused, I already talked about, but let me reiterate that it was a clumsy and stupid insertion of class warfare rhetoric in a situation that did not suit it, especially since at no time did Stephanie hint she thought she was better than Harper because she was rich and Harper was poor. That was straight out of the idiotic ideology of the writers. This episode was gratuitous in its dumbness, with moronicisms flying left, right, and center all throughout the show. At the pace they are going, CW will be announcing the cancellation of this show by episode 5. That it was not canceled before it aired is amazing. This is approaching Naomi-level writing and incompetence, even if the acting is slightly better thus far. But with even Duella and Cullen boarding the express train to Idiocracy this episode, there's not much hope they will help me keep my sanity watching this show. This was bad. real bad. That is all I have for you this episode. If you like what I do here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and comment down below. I appreciate all of it. The next video will be the review of this week's episode of The Ark. Until then, tschüss.